What's up, YouTube? Let's do another video. I'm driving, why not? Let's talk about preparedness. Let's talk about prepping. Let's talk about shit hits the fan not happening. What do you do with all your stuff? This conversation's come up time and time again, and recently has come up again with me and a friend of mine. And I'll leave his name out of it until he decides to talk about it. I've seen this on other YouTube channels. I've known of other people that have got into preparedness. You know, some hardcore, some kind of just mediocre like me. And learning what I've learned looking back now, when it all kind of started, the whole prepping game, and everybody was into this and that. And this is actually a VR for Kaz, who changed his name to something else. But this is a VR for you, brother. Let me say what I'm going to say, and I'll get back to the actual VR for you. Is it good to prep? Yes. But my thought on prepping is, number one, set yourself a goal. What is your goal in prepping? Are you prepping for a few days, a week, a month, long term, 6 months, a year? Set yourself a goal and aim for that goal. And along your journey, you'll figure out whether or not this is something you want to continue, or you're just burnt out on it because you feel like, hey, nothing's happened. Everybody told me this was going to happen. It didn't happen. And I feel like I'm just wasting my time when I could be out doing other stuff. If you have the means, the time, the financial, backing to spend your money on this and that, and several guns or dozen guns and thousands of ammo, and you enjoy doing it, I say knock yourself out. I say do it until your heart's content. At some point, fast forward, you're gonna get a little burnout. You're gonna get a little stale on the whole thing, and you're probably gonna want to take a break from it, to be honest, or it's just gonna burn you out completely. So my thoughts on prepping or preparedness is definitely have 3 days worth of food. If it's MREs, canned food, definitely have yourself some protection, whether it be 1 or 2 firearms or multiple, and definitely have some ammo. You don't have to have thousands and thousands of rounds, maybe hundreds of rounds, and just have it set aside. Batteries, candles, radio, just the basic stuff that you know you would need. If you can set aside water, go for it. 3 days to a week. That's definitely my I definitely push for that. If you're one that wants to plan for weeks out, months out, hey, it's not a bad thing. Great. But at some point, this is what you're going to have to ask yourself. And this is kind of going to the VR now for you, Cass. And that is, number one, are you doing it because you enjoy doing it? Okay. Number two, do you see yourself actually using any of the preps if you have to rotate or cycle through it and get rid of the older stuff and then rotate the stuff in order, meaning whatever your oldest is, you move it forward, you can eat that, and move the stuff to the back. Do you see yourself using that? Because if you don't, you're just wasting your money. And I say that through my own experience of buying lots of canned food, not cycling through it, and then it just going to waste. And I think, man, all that money I spend on canned foods that I was storing up in the garage is just wasted. I mean, I might as well take it to the back and shoot it. And number three, realistically, and this will vary depending on where you live, Kaz, as you mentioned. If you live along the East Coast and you know there's nuclear reactors up and down the coastline, you're right. how long do you really have if you decide, or you just can't leave that area? Do you think you're really going to make it? I think initially the majority, if not half, of people will be okay. They'll make it. There'll be some chaos if we get through that hump of the initial SACF. I think that a lot of people will survive, but I think a lot of chaos will endure during that time. People will be looting and robbing and stealing and killing. But after that, after the initial several weeks, months out, I mean, what are the chances you're really going to survive? I mean, think about that. If you don't have the medications, if you're on medication, if you need to go to the hospital for dialysis, if you are in medical need every couple of months and shit hits the fan, how long do you think you're really going to live? You think about everyone that you've known that has passed on before, up until this point of your life, and you think about the stuff that they had and all the stuff that just stayed behind, that they didn't use, that got passed on to other people. Because most of the stuff, I can guarantee you, and I'm going to say this, and this is my opinion, if you've been stockpiling, you've been storing stuff, or shit hits the fan, I bet you anything, and this is from what I know from other people, is you're probably not even going to use half of that shit. And that's just the honest truth. And that's why I'm not really big on when people say I got, thousands and thousands and thousands of rounds. I get it. If you can afford it, and you like to have 3,000-5,000 rounds, I mean, that's realistically different calibers, whatever. If you got 10,000 rounds of whatever, okay, great. But when people have more than they'll ever shoot, here's the thing: when people have so many guns and have so many ammo, and they barely make it out to the range, if you can't even make it out to the range, how are you going to use all that ammo? I mean, really, and when shit hits the fan, months out into the event, you're probably not going to make it that far. And that goes for me. I mean, you really have to be, your killer instincts would have to kick in. You'd have to be really pretty lucky to have survived 3 to several months out. If nobody's already robbed you, killed you, you've got shot, you get some type of disease. I mean, and that is the honest truth. So I'm curious to a lot of guys out there that have been prepping, and some event happens, and you realize, looking at all the shit that you have, like, I'm never going to use this stuff. This event hasn't happened. It might happen, may never happen. Doesn't look like it's going to happen. What do I do with it? And I say to you, sum this up: if you do not foresee yourself using that in a cycling manner to get rid of the old, bring in the new, you probably should stop at some point. You probably should stop and just say, hey, you know what, I'm prepping for at least a week. If we're lucky, we'll make it beyond that. But I'm not knocking anyone that preps for months out in advance or whatever, but who's to say you're going to be the lucky one when the shit hits the fan and actually survive day one? You may die day one or day two, and then somebody else will get your stuff. I'm not saying to prep. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying not to prep. I'm just saying be realistic in your idea of prepping and what it means to you, because things change. All right, guys, Red October out.